Hello, and welcome to Anything Relevant. Uh, Woke up to controversy over the Canadian political campaign here with Justin Trudeau doing brown face and black face, and the whole point of him being exactly who he is that he is a compassionate, considerate, you know, I guess globalist, if you will. Well, maybe that's wrong. Maybe I won't say globalist, but someone that just is all encompassing and all accepting and is politically correct and is forward and progressive and has pictures of him doing brown face and black face. I don't find this at all surprising, and I'm not even offended. And here's why: this is a guy that wants to be in every group. He wants to be accepted by every group. He wants everyone to accept everyone. So the fact that he would indulge a night being dressed up the way that he had been doesn't surprise me. He seems like the type of guy that would look over the fence and see greener grass and be like, well, can I at least come hang out just for a bit? And I know that there is a history of exploitation when it comes to racism, and there's like different types of racism, and that's kind of what's frustrating, is that there's the racism that's obvious and horrible when it's openly expressed and it's angry and it's meant to hurt. It's meant to stab at thee, if you will. And I've been on the receiving end of that. I'm First Nations as a Canadian, and I've experienced some ugliness when it comes from Caucasians, when it comes from Canadians, when it comes from, lack of a better term, white people. I was treated horribly in school when it came to that, just because of my ethnicity. And I grew up in a world where the white world, if you will, again, lack of a better word, that I can think of at the moment, is that they would, television, movies, black people were, drug dealers and vicious, violent people. They were poor, and you didn't go down their neighborhoods at night, and yada yada yada. And if they were being depicted in a movie, they were the first to die. They were the least educated person in the room. They were the easiest scared person in the room, the least heroic, and that's if they were part of the support cast. And if they're not a part of the support cast and they're now part of the villainous role, well, they're not just cruel, they're extra cruel. They're animalistically cruel. And that's something that North America had been chewing on for decades when it came to what came out of Hollywood. It's someone that you gun down at a fast food place because they're trying to hold it up. Like, what other ethnicity is going to hold up a fast food place for money? But no, we're going to depict black people doing that. So there's that. And then me being Native, I grew up with cowboys and Indians my whole life. So here's the things that I remember from my childhood, how Native people are depicted. The honorable savage that has all the wisdom and advice, lives out in the middle of nowhere, simple and humble. You think, well, how can that be offensive? It's offensive because there's a character type. Then there's the drunken Native. That's ugly. I grew up with a lot of that. Then there's just the skin tone, red man. Then you got, the wounded Native. I just want the world to be a better place. Depicting us that way. how we had it right living simple. That's offensive. Another with natives is that, if there's cowboys, they're going to be shooting Indians. And Indians, and cowboys and Indians, are raping, stealing, raiding monsters on horseback. Like, I'm a huge fan of history, no matter what piece you want to give me. I gravitate mostly towards Mongolian history. These were people on horseback that raided, stole people, slaved them off, or married them against their will, and a lot of other horrific things. So they're depicting natives like really stereotypical Mongols. It's not right. It's wrong. It's not accurate. But what about the times when, one side versus the other, cowboys versus Indians over land? How was that? Well, there were no innocents on either side. How about that? How about when you look in history, history is filled with every forehead slapping moment of lesser behavior, no matter who you look at. There's been no righteous divine empire ever. There hasn't been an authoritative body of people that have ruled over others that are not themselves and did it with grace and dignity and compassion and consideration. There's been aspects of that, but not in the way that we see it today. If I were to ask that, I would say today it's the modern world. The modern world does a good job. Why? Because we keep trying to live with the belief that it doesn't matter where you're from, what you look like, what bathroom you go to. We try to not pay attention to that. In essence, we're kind of pushing towards what that author of Starship Troopers was getting at with like just one type of bathroom, one type of shower room. We are slowly pushing towards that. I'm not saying we should do that today, but it's an inevitability in my opinion, because we are critically thinking and we're disregarding nonsense, and we're attacking things that are systemic. We're attacking things that are built into the institution. We're attacking things that are a social norm. We want to change that, and I get that. I support that. Change is coming, but with this brownface scandal, my thoughts are as simple on this. If we say that racism's on the way out, we got to prove it. You got to prove it. And this is where you got to get a little bit like the adage of Jesus. You got to turn the other cheek. If you do outrage, cancel mentality, we're not going to grow. We're just going to gouge out everyone's eyes until there's only one person with one eye left. That's what's going to happen with this. Oh, white people dressed up in brown or blackface or red face or yellow face or whatever. Yet Dave Chappelle gets a pass for whiteface. I'm not mad at that. I find that funny. And that's kind of where I want to take this. There's context that is very important. Context and nuances and the scenario. The scenario all matters. And if it's like a private cocktail party or just a cocktail party where it's dress up, it's just a night, I think a lot of people need to relax. When it comes to dress up, just dress up. You're not, and if you think that perpetuates a stereotype, we're not in the 70s anymore. People know better, and the people that don't are now discovered. Why worry about the people that haven't caught up? They're going to be left behind. We're outbreeding that type of ignorance and stupidity. The generations that have come, it's tabletop knowledge for them. You don't really need to push hard on, hey, racism's bad to the millennials or younger. You don't. It's unnecessary. They know it. They know it more than you do as an adult. So cocktail parties, Halloween parties from 10, 15, 20 years ago, I say, so what? Who cares? But if a movie, a television appearance that was not meant to poke a little fun and include, well, then that's wrong. If it's meant to point and laugh, that's how they are, that's still around and that needs to go. But I know this specific person and I'm going to dress up as this specific person, I'm going to poke fun at them, that's okay. That's okay. It's called an impression. But a cocktail, there's no impression here, just dress up. Arabian Nights. There were all sorts of people there, all of them dressed up. Why is him singled out? Hmm? How about all the people that took pictures with him? You know, if we take racism out and we put in drug peddling, there's a little law called RICO, whether it's American or Canadian or whatnot, but you get the concept. If, let's say, Joe Schmo is selling heroin and Trudeau takes a picture with him or some political figure takes a picture with him, well, then there's like, well, how well do you know him? We have to investigate you, and if we find out that there's nothing, well, then good. Nothing. You just took a picture with a dangerous person. But the intention has to be a bigger part of the conversation. If someone's just like, hey, man, if you put my feet to the fire, I'm going to say, I won't do it again. And it wasn't worth the entertainment that I had that night wasn't worth the grief of everyone else finding out about it 15 years later. Plus, we don't have, let's say I'm going to start shaving my head, right? I don't have an instantaneous seventh sense where I can look into the future and go, oh, this is going to be political suicide for me. I better not shave my head now, because 15 years from now, in the future, which I'm not there, I know I'm going to get in trouble for it. You can't argue against that, because it's a simple reality. When we are in the moment, we do not have the privilege of having this holographic figure from the future being like, whoa, 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 you're going to get in trouble for this, you better stop. Doesn't exist. So how about we rip open everyone's lives from the last 20 years and crucify everyone for every misstep? That's cutting everyone's eyes out and leaving the world blind. It's not going to work. So we got to turn our other cheek. We got to show the world that racism is on its way out. And you know what's hard? Let's say you're bullied, but you don't want to be bullied anymore. So what do? You talk to someone, okay. Bullying continues. You talk to the parents, okay. Bullying intensifies. How do you get rid of that bully? I'm going to beat him up. Not the best way. I'm going to show that the bullying doesn't affect me. That's the step in the right direction. Because it's reaction. This whole cancel culture thrives on reaction. It thrives on listening. It's like a infant child screaming after they throw something off their plate. And society right now is picking that cup up and putting it back on the table for that child, just so I can pick it up and throw it again. We want to grow? This is what you got to do. When you're dealing with that bully and you're ignoring it, it involves one thing: turning your other cheek every time he's got to find out that he's not going to get a reaction out of you. Is that easy? No, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy to turn your cheek. And I know it sticks in your craw, and you're like, I don't want to turn my cheek. They're the ones that are doing wrong. Why do I gotta do more? Why do I gotta endure more? Well, that's what it is. You gotta be the stronger person. You gotta be the wiser person. You gotta be the more compassionate person. That's how you heal things. That's how you progress things. That's how people get better. Let's translate this to just a physical skill versus an emotional state of being. If I'm going to be the best at any sport, I got to really do it. I got to really try hard. Do you think some of these athletes try less that are at the top 1% than the people that are hanging around at the 3/4 percentile of averages? So if you got your above average basketball player that's not top tier, but he's definitely, head and shoulders above the your average player, how hard does he train? Trains pretty hard. What's he lacking? Probably some physical gifts and some mental gifts. It's most likely the truth. And then, so that's what separates them from the people at the top, maybe. But the one thing that we do know for sure, though, is when you got top tier champions, what are they doing? They're eating and breathing competition to the point where they're almost uncomfortable to talk to because all they want to do is win. Now, you got to take that same mentality for compassion. You got to take that same mentality of being more than the person beside you, which means when you run into a bully, they're the least developed person. You are the most developed person. Therefore, if you reduce your behavior to their level, you're not showing any of the gifts that you've worked hard for. You got to be able to turn your cheek. You got to be able to understand when you're looking at someone that tells you a racist joke that's really off-putting, and it's not going to get anyone laughing other than, hateful people, then this is that moment. This is where you got to have that strength and not ignore it, of course, but at the exact same time, don't take the candy, don't take the bait, don't freak out, don't get angry. Because I'm going to tell you this, anger doesn't solve anything. You know that. I'm just telling you something you already know. Anger doesn't solve anything. You tell me a scenario where anger is going to solve it, where I'll probably come up with 15, 5, 2 other ideas that are better than being angry. I'm not saying you can't be angry. I didn't say that. You can be angry. Absolutely angry. You're allowed. It's a universal characteristic of humanity. We can't live a life and not get angry. The way it is. Anger is connected to fear. Anger is connected to pain. So with these elements at play here, we gotta, as the minority of the world, turn another cheek and show that being on the bottom and abused for so long has given us so much strength under all that pressure and scrutiny and lack of acknowledgement that when we are in the spotlight and someone goes, hey, what did you think about Justin Trudeau doing la la la? Go, did you do it today? No. Good. When did you do it? Oh, like 15, 20 years ago. Huh. Do you have any questions about any of my policies? And just let it drift on by, have no comment, because it doesn't matter if you do. It doesn't matter if you do. What does it change if you, I disagree. Okay, the world is now different. It's not. To show racists that racism is on the way out, in my opinion, is to laugh all this stuff away that is from the past. Now, does this include hateful, spit screaming racism? No, because those people are violent and they're angry and they need to be talked to. They need to be asked what's got them so angry, what's got them so scared, what pain in their past is contributing to this. If you don't like these lines of questions, this is the way of the future. There's going to be no more excuses. And these are going to be the type of questions asked. Because now we're going to want to go in the more fact direction. Was anyone hurt? Yes. Now we proceed. Was anyone hurt? No. We move on. We got bigger things to do. The world's melting. People are dying. This is not going to save the world. This is just going to slow things up. So if you have ethnic groups that just look at this and go, yeah, that was silly, but moving on. It'll show the rest of the world that it's okay to have a misstep. It'll show the people that have had missteps to be a little more transparent. But if we turn this into the witch trials and the Red Scare and we start dragging everyone out, and turn this into a great terror, then all these people that have done little things, innocent things, ignorant things, hateful things, they're just going to bury it. And they're going to teach it at the dinner table, and we're going to have the revolving door of hate, fear, and pain. This is a golden opportunity for everyone that's been treated horribly because of skin color or they are from a different continent to show the rest of the world we got almost bulletproof skin. Next. Show our strength, not our weakness. Don't cry and fall apart because someone in the spotlight did this. It's a sign of weakness and that you don't know how to grow. And if you get, hurt, you don't get stronger. These aren't human characteristics. These are just indulgences of a child. Every thick-skinned adult has had problems. They've had adversities to overcome. And then well, what about a whole race being treated poorly? Yeah? Are you the only one? Are you the only one? It's called majority rules. And no matter where you are, there's a majority. A majority of people of one skin color or tone over another. I've talked to, I grew up in a community of mostly white people. And I got abused a lot for being Native. But I've talked with white people from a bigger community than I was raised in. And I told them my gripes about, white people and their treatment towards Native people. And he goes, that's interesting. I grew up in a population where 75% of the population were First Nations. 25% of the population were Caucasian Canadians. Now, he didn't tell me anything I hadn't heard before. Because I can go on about how badly I was treated by white people. But I'm not full Native. Partial heritage there. And with that, when I go to my Native side of the family's community, did I get treated well? By some. Did I get treated poorly? By a lot. I did. Was it the same? No. Sorry, it wasn't. I got made fun of and laughed at in the Native community. Maybe pushed, maybe kicked. Okay. That sucks. The name calling, the laughing, that hurt too. What did I get in the white community? My head slammed against the wall, spit on, my food smashed in by shoes and kicked around, and then thrown to the floor with my face pushed into my food saying, that's how savages eat. I just want you to know that I do know what racism is. I've experienced a little bit of it. And that it was some ugly stuff. I was in like grade 3 or 4 when that happened to me. But I know it's still alive. I just don't want people to believe that none of this can be fixed. It can be. It's just no one likes doing hard work. And the people that do need to be noticed more. They do. We need people in the spotlight to look at this, go, all right, not cool, but whatever, next. Not a pass, not encouraged, noted, moving on. Noted. That's all we need to do. Just note it. Oh, you did that in the past. Noted, moving on. Am I a supporter of Justin Trudeau? Supported a couple things he did. Laugh at a couple of things he did. Disagree with a couple of things he did. But I do that with everyone. I'm a critical thinker. I'm judgmental. But I don't want my judgments to rule me. I don't want my emotions to rule me. My emotions are like the water. They're going to move in and out. They're going to respond. They're going to react. And that's okay. But they don't run the show. I run the show. My consciousness runs the show. My rational thinking has more to say and to do than my emotions. I just note my emotions. If I get told something or I experience something and I have a bunch of negative emotions welling up, then I let my logical mind think, what's the most rational way to respond to this? I'm obviously not feeling positive about this, but what would be the best step forward in this state? I just note my emotions. And that's what needs to happen here. We needed someone in the spotlight to see this Trudeau brown face and go, noted. Moving on. It's 2019 and it's going to turn to 2020 so soon. And the fact that we're still trying to cancel culture and shame people. Like, if he did this last Halloween, okay, let it be as big as it is. But it wasn't last year's Halloween. This is a nothing that's turned into something, and this is why, in my opinion, is that you got Scheer having to respond to the whole past that the Conservative Party has had with LGBTQ, sorry that I messed that up, but the minority community. And the response was, oh, we're not going to open up that discussion again. That's an ugly response. But I get it. And then there's the, people pushing, and he is saying basically neutral things about this, Andrew Scheer. This is not the same subject matter. A guy went to a cocktail party dressed up and went, oops, versus a guy that goes to work and trying to make life harder for Canadians that pay taxes. It's not the same thing. It's not. There's a discrimination, and there's a social faux pas, oversight, taboo, whatever you want to call it. It was a social event. At this social event, no policy was made. At this social event, there was no lynching. There was nothing of that scale. But with Andrew Scheer not wanting to talk about gay rights, whether it's okay to be gay, whether Canadians have the right to be gay in Canada, whether they should have all the rights afforded to them, whether they should be discriminated against in any form or fashion. That guy doesn't wear his cross, but he lives with it. And there's things that he'll support and there's things that he won't. This is not the same as going to a party with brownface. This is going before a body of people and trying to push some legislation forward. That's scarier. Should be able to differentiate between these two. Massively different. And here's why I bring him up, though. His feet are put to the fire, and he deflects. He deflects. He doesn't want to outright say, no, I don't support gay people. But he won't say, no, I wholeheartedly support gay people. I made a mistake. Like, if his response to these inquiries were like, look, years ago, I was public and I said this. Now that time has gone by, I've been afforded the opportunity of meeting a great amount of beautiful people in this country, and it's broadened my perspective. I'm glad that this subject is put to bed because it's not going to get reopened again. And I think that's what makes Canada such a great country. Missed opportunity, Mr. Scheer. Instead, you didn't want to lose your base that has a little bit of racism in there and a little bit of prejudice in there, and it's written into that book that you carry around on one day of the week. And you didn't have the right answer. That's what we should be focusing on. And because of that scandal, Scheer wanted anything else to talk about. And this isn't rocket science when it comes to how political stratagems go on the campaign trail. Oh, they're focusing on me and it's not positive. The moment someone makes a mistake, I need to be in front of a camera and condemn it. In fact, you, go look for me. Go look through all of his high school stuff, all of his college stuff, all of his former work, public work. I want you to scrutinize it all. Find me something. I'm tired of talking about gay rights. See the difference here? There is a difference, and it's not. They're not comparable. One is worse than the other. One is just clueless, brainless, and the other is calculating and cruel. I don't have any compunctions in my neighborhood to be harder on one house over another. Like I got a neighbor that lets their dog poop all over the side of the road. It's annoying, but I don't wish them any ill will at all. I want them to be happy, safe, secure, represented, and not disenfranchised in any way. But they do. That poop does irritate the hell out of me. It does. But am I going to make a problem out of this? No, I'm not. I'm going to live and let live. Is this the same as racism? In a way, yeah. In a way. We're talking about the odd joke that anyone can laugh at. This is why we need to take cues from people like Dave Chappelle and Russell Peters that have had race as such a prominent topic in their stand-up. That there is a level of humor that is at the expense of race that's acceptable. I think right now things are too critical and too hot for dress up, Halloween. And I think down the road, we'll get back to it. We'll get back to having Robert Downey Jr. in blackface playing a Vietnam vet in Tropic Thunder. We'll get back to that. We can't have it now. There's too much outrage. There's no understanding that was not trying to hurt anyone. So we just got to understand that some things are not acceptable, and it's as simple as this. Did it hurt anyone? Is it going to hurt anyone? If both or no, we're wasting our time. We got North and South Pole Mountain, or the North Pole anyway. We got forest fires all over the world. We got flooding. We got earthquakes. We got war. We got oil, propaganda, hacking. There's no time for this. There's no time for this. The real simplicity of this is everyone's going to toughen up. Everyone. And the people that are at the bottom that have been toughened up because of being at the bottom, this is your opportunity to show all that strength, not weakness. So these are my thoughts. I rambled. I went all over the place. I hope you're able to follow along. There's probably things I didn't able to dig into, but all in all, this is a nothing story that has been perpetuated into a grand scale because a guy that has real gripes with sexuality doesn't want to talk about it anymore. I'm not anti-conservative. I'm not anti-sheer. What I am, though, is a critical thinker that can differentiate between harmless jest that is a little offensive versus someone that would take rights away and make life harder. I can critically think on what's harmful and what's a unsavory character trait. Like, here's what's unsavory about Trudeau. He wants to be everyone. He wants to be everywhere. He wants to be liked by everyone. I'm probably oversimplifying it, overstating it, but to me, it's a clear truth that this guy doesn't like to be left out in the cold. He'd rather be in the warm house in the living room with everyone else, cheering and dancing and laughing. And that's got him into trouble. So that's what I think that's relevant to this conversation that needs to be heard or expressed. We're entering into a new stage of understanding in our social consciousness in the modern world, and it's an infantile state right now. And I think everyone's just got to give a little more benefit of the doubt, be a little more forgiving. It's hard to forgive when you're angry. You got to ask yourself why you're so angry. I can sit and think about all the reasons in my life that contribute to anger. And if I did that, I'd be angry probably till the day I died. I did not have a nice treatment because of my race, my heritage. I got an ugly dose from both sides of the fence. And if I acted like a lot of the people in the social media world, I'd be angry to the day I die. So this is why I think people need to hear what I have to say, not in the sense that I'm a guru that's got all the answers, but I am someone that has, I think, a relevant thought. I'm not from India. I'm not from Pakistan. I'm not from anywhere overseas. I'm a Canadian, and my mom's side of the family has First Nations, and this is the experience that I have. And I think everyone just needs to relax on this and focus on the big picture, that the world is in a compromised situation, and the political realm, to me, is the most important part of that situation that we're sitting in right now as a world. We have to vote responsibly to save ourselves. The world is fine. It'll live long past us. It'll continue to spin. We're trying to save ourselves, not save the world. I hope you understand that. I hope that that's what you get. If the temperature rises an average 5 degrees, and we're in big trouble, if not wiped out. If it drops 5 degrees on average globally, same trouble. The water rises 10 feet. Hundreds of millions, if not a couple billion people, will be displaced in harsh circumstances, if not a lot of them swept away. There's little details of this world that can happen, and we're gone. The world will keep going, but we're gone. If 4 of the biggest volcanoes all erupt at the same time, humanity's gone. The world keeps spinning. Forget about us in 300 years. So that's why the political realm is the most important arena right now. We're fighting for the soul of humanity, not the planet. Vote responsibly. Thank you for watching. I hope I didn't irritate you or offend you or condescend you. I just hope that I helped expand your mind. Thank you for dropping by.